Well, partner, we got another episode of our podcast, and I'm telling you, I'm looking forward to this one because the conversation that we have been having offline has been interesting.
It has been great.
And I'm looking forward to it because I know I'm learning some things that I didn't know at first about our media people.
Right.
And what they're doing.
Well, part of this podcast falls under the domain of media and messaging and getting the word out, but it's a lot of facets to media and messaging.
Yes.
It's a lot of relationships, a lot of community building, and getting out the right information in a timely fashion. And we're looking forward to it.
Yeah,
a lot of people see what they do, but they never hear the voices and see the faces behind all the work that goes in.
So let's start with our boss.
Let's start with Liz Caroon, one of our professional staff.
Yes.
Liz, can you introduce yourself? Tell us a little bit about yourself.
Good morning. I'm Liz Caroon. I am the Media and Messaging Manager with the Chesterfield County Police Department. I've been here 12 years. It simultaneously feels shorter and longer than that. I have really enjoyed how my role has changed over the years, and watching people join the team and learn new skills has just been absolutely wonderful. And to see what we've been able to do and the changes we've made has really been rewarding.
My relationship, let me just say this. My relationship with Liz is different. I see her coming down the hallway, and I just move to the side because I don't know exactly what she's going to say. If she's going to be like, Daryl, I got something going on, move, I'm going to the colonel's office. Whatever's going on, somebody has been spoken to. I love you. I love what you do.
Thank you. That means a lot.
I do. All right, Ellie, I'm sorry. I had to put that in.
No, I just also want to throw out there that you are a University of Richmond grad.
I am a University of Richmond grad. I majored in journalism and did that for a little while. Absolutely loved it. But then 2008 happened, and everything started to crash, and landed here in 2011.
Good.
Well, great.
Awesome.
All right, Catherine, Katie. Can you introduce yourself?
Yes, I'm Katie Fridley. I am the department's internal communications specialist. I've been here for 4 years now. I started off part-time and then, moved on to full-time after a year being here. Trying to think of what else I am and what I do.
Where did you go to school?
I went to Hollins University, Roanoke, Virginia.
Okay. Well, that's great. So, Liz, let's jump into it. Tell us about the structure of your unit as the media messaging manager.
Okay. Well, media and messaging includes 4 absolutely amazing people and then me. So we've got the first one to come to the group years ago was Corporal B. Thomas. She's our social media coordinator, and we were able to get her because at the time one of our lieutenant colonels reached out to me and said, what do we need to do Facebook? I said, we need a person. We need a dedicated person who can do social media. So we got B, and then with some changes at the time, we ended up working really closely with crime solvers. We ended up in, at that time, the Management Services Division. So we had already worked with Chris Rizzuti, who is also in the room, and he started going into kind of videos, so that blossomed, and then we were able to kind of, once Colonel Katz got here, there was more of a focus on internal communications. So we were able to bring on someone to help with that. And we were able to get Katie, who is absolutely amazing. I'm just throwing that out there because I know she's going to sell herself short today because that's what she does. She's incredibly humble, and that's a quality we love. But she has done great things. And then in the midst of that, we were also able to snag Lena Shaduli, who is absolutely fantastic. And helps with our video production, just a host of other things. So our group right now, we are in the office of the chief, which cuts out a lot of the middleman. It makes life a lot easier. We can go directly to him with things. So that's kind of our structure and our setup right now.
Okay. So you have these 5 people or 4 people, but you're also complemented by other people who work in the department, not assigned, but as a specialty unit.
Yes, we have a specialty unit that was Chris's brainchild, the production team. And on the production team, there's people that are, they do other jobs in the department, but they're interested in helping out with the production aspect of stuff, whether that's filming or taking pictures or being on camera or helping with writing scripts. So the production team has become a great way to tap into the talent that we have out there. And it also helps people be more involved in the department, but also maybe you have a passion for acting or you have a passion for writing. You're not necessarily going to be able to use that in patrol, but you can use that with us and you can kind of feed your passion or indulge in your passion while you're getting paid and working.
Right. Wow.
So,
It's a lot to manage.
so if and I'm one of the old school guys. I'm going to back up. I want to go backwards.
Okay.
What did we have prior to you all coming aboard in 2018? Do you remember any of the media personnel or what we did to get our message out to our community?
Well, I can say back in 2011, when I started, it was me. I was a one-man band, and I would say 95% of what I did was responding to media inquiries. And then, like I said, when we wanted to start social, B was able to join us. So then we started working through that together. We both kind of worked through setting up the socials and that kind of stuff. And then it's just expanded as we've grown. Like, we've always done media releases. We've always, had people give interviews. But really, once B joined us, we were able to do more proactive communication and not be as reactive. And then when Katie joined us, that was a game changer for internal.
I think when I first got here in '98, we didn't have professional staff doing media relations. It was the crime solvers.
The crime solvers, exactly.
Detectives going out, doing all the interviews on television, and one or two of them handling. But we've grown a lot as the department has grown and the population of the county has grown.
Right. Right.
Now we have people who are specially trained to do that. Right. So internal communications. Let's talk about what you do. Give us an idea of what you do and why do we need an internal communications?
Right. So, what I've been told, coming into this position is we have a history of, trouble with internal communications, as most organizations have.
Right.
Getting the message from the top down has traditionally been really hard. So what we do, Katz has really blazed this trail for me before I got on. But he likes to do quarterly addresses, and he's not one to do email. He doesn't like text.
Right. Oh, we know.
That type of thing. Things don't get communicated well through that, forum. So he likes to do video messages. And one of the issues coming into this position was, getting that out to everybody in a way that they can access the video well, and there's not going to be issues of uploading stuff or whatever. So that was one thing, and there were several other things that we had problems with, with our old intranet, the Zone. It was created through HTML, I think, and through our systems support staff, and it was just a little bit outdated, and it was something that they had to update themselves. So people throughout the department would go to them. There was no direct way to edit things or update things and have that quick turnaround. So I came on and I, did a lot of research. I looked at other intranet options, and eventually we decided to go with SharePoint. So through our Microsoft 365 suite. So I did that, and through a bunch of other tools that we have to our in our package to our disposal, I was able to solve a lot of those problems that we were having of getting those messages out there.
Okay.
So Liz, let me ask. The police department is 24 hours a day, so there's stuff happening all the time that's important to get out to the public, whether it's through our social media processes. How are our sworn staff empowered to get that message out at 2 a.m. or 3 a.m.? If the public wanted to know there's a road closure or this is what's happening, where would they go to learn that in the middle of the night?
Well, what we do is we work with our first line supervisors. I teach a block in that curriculum to kind of teach them the basics of how to do a media release. And the biggest thing to me is what to do it for. We only have a handful of things that they're going to need to put that release out on in the middle of the night. And that's going to be your fatal crash, commercial robbery, homicide, those kinds of things. So there's really fairly few things that they need to worry about doing that overnight. But we teach them and empower them so that when it is truly critical, they don't have to wait to try to get me. They can take care of those things. They know I'm always here and they can always call me. But let's be honest, at 3 o'clock in the morning, if I'm in a dead sleep, I hope I hear the phone, but they can handle it. And that really, I think that's good for everybody involved, because there are definitely times when it's critical to get that information out.
Do you have any idea of how many media releases? What are your numbers like? I mean, do you have any idea? And I know this is the craziest question. Hopefully, you'll get the rest of the year. How many social media posts do we do a year? How active are we with transparency with the public?
Good question.
We are, I feel like at this point, super active when it comes to telling our story. There's also, let me back up to your previous question, another way that people can get information out in the middle of the night is Twitter. We have a lot of our road supervisors who are on Twitter. So if there's something that doesn't rise to the level of a media release, but they want people to know, say there's a tree down and a road is closed or something like that, they can put that out on Twitter and tag our media partners so that can get out in the morning and help our residents. But we do, in a usual year, at least 100, 125 media releases. It really depends. But as far as social media posts across our platforms, it's easily hundreds, if not pushing 1,000, I would say. We do a lot. And again, that's dependent on what's going on, right? Some days we've got just good stuff to post. Some days there's all kinds of things going on that we have to post. But because we keep that line of communication open, our community is incredibly responsive when we ask for help. And we do ask for help. And there have been some, sensitive situations where, we get those pictures out. It's like we need to find this person because we need to make sure they're okay.
Right.
And the posts get shared hundreds of times. And it's just really, it's really heartening to see how people want to get involved and want to help.
I just recall when you were talking about the list of when we put them out, I was recently asked about a month ago, does Chesterfield County have more missing people than the other people in our region? Or why are we always putting these out? And I said, I assume it's because it's vital. We want to be able to help people find them for their families. Sometimes there's a mental health component. Sometimes it could be something domestic related. But we put out press releases all the time for missing people. People don't have to wait 24, 72 hours to report a missing loved one.
Absolutely. The detectives do a great job, and the supervisors up in persons, of looking at the totality of the circumstances. If the person might be in danger, or might be a danger to themselves, or has some kind of issue, whether it's a cognitive impairment or something like that, we can lean on these resources from traditional media to social media to find people really rapidly and help put those families at ease. Because if you've got a loved one who's gone, who needs medication or isn't capable of taking care of themselves, I can't imagine anything more frightening than that. So to have those tools at our disposal to help people, because that's what we do, right? We're here to help. It's a really powerful thing.
Now, with internal communications, I know we have grown a lot since Darryl came here when there were probably 5 people working. And now we have over 550 sworn staff, not including 120 to 130 professional staff. We work 3 districts now, 2 different shifts, about 28 specialized full and part-time units. How do we measure the internal communication success? I think it's gotten a lot better.
I think it has gotten, especially
just
with
leaps and bounds with the
sworn and
information
civilian,
going out.
non-sworn.
Right.
That's what I look at now. I think the non-sworn personnel is a partnership now.
Right.
And they work well together. It seems to be working well
I think that
together.
the communication is much better. When you're
Yeah.
trying to accomplish a goal of internal communication with people who work in various hours, not all of our employees work here physically inside of the county. We have some people who work off-site.
Right.
How do we measure the success of that? And
Right.
I know you personally, so I know you're constantly looking to improve.
Yes, absolutely. And a lot of what I do is, figure out solutions to these problems. So, we're spread out across our department. And one of the biggest things is mobile-friendly forms of communication, right? So we want to make sure that people can access their video, like if we get a quarterly video, people can access that on their phone, right? In a safe way that's secure and all of that.
Right.
So that's one of the biggest things. And there are some other, issues that come up with that too, with so many people remote now and on the road and in the office. So we like the technology piece, which I didn't, know I would be getting into coming into this role, is a really big part of it. And being able to make sure that everybody has access, and if any issues come about, that we can troubleshoot that. So I work with system support and our county IST
okay.
a lot to find solutions to these problems.
And I know recently here at headquarters and maybe some of the satellite locations, I haven't been to any of them, there are monitors up everywhere now so you can
Yes.
see it there. That works. That's great for me.
Yeah. No, that's definitely a big plus. That's been a project that's been coming since I have been brought on. And we finally, I think it was this past year that we finally implemented all of those monitors.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, they look good.
Yeah, they look
It
good.
works.
They really do.
Thank you.
Yeah.
That means a lot. Thank you.
Yep. So what do you look for our future to be? What's some of your wish lists on our future to be better and communicate not only with the officers, with the sworn, but also with our community? What do you see?
There's a couple of things that come to mind. Definitely the technology piece. There are more things that we can do better.
Okay.
And that's just stuff that's going to come in time. So, for example, one project we're looking into is the internal, I'm trying to think of the word for it. So our intel staff put out like bulletins constantly about missing people, persons of interest, that type of thing, and it all comes through email. And with email, you
You don't
can
look at it all the way.
you don't always look
right
at
away.
it.
Right,
It can
exactly.
be buried under stuff. It could be
Spam.
exactly.
Yep.
So we're looking to use Teams as a way to organize that stuff in a more concise way, and of course, mobile friendly way.
Right.
So that's one option for that. And of course, that's going to take a lot more than myself to work on.
Okay.
That's going to be IST, that's going to be our crime analysis team, a lot of people working together for that project. And another thing, I am the internal communications specialist, right? That's my role. But really, internal communications is something that everybody is responsible for. We all need to know, especially from supervision, we all need to be aware and conscious that, we need to tell our people stuff,
Right.
And I think that's a big piece of it. We can all be involved in different things and different projects, like we have our 5-0. But unless you tell people,
Right.
nobody's going to know. And there are a lot of duplicate efforts involved in that type of thing.
Okay.
Liz, let me ask you this, and I know some of it has not come out yet, but I know the Colonel just announced in one of the internal communications things about a new marketing firm we received a contract
Right,
with.
right.
And he recently came out with a new department seal. So that will be something that the public will start seeing on people's emails, some of our letterhead, some of our recruiting materials. Can you explain, not necessarily the look of the seal, but why did we go to a department seal?
I think Colonel Katz wanted to go to something that has meaning for where we are now, and something that would, become recognizable. Because if you look at the seal, it ties back to, how we behave, which is humble, hungry, smart. It ties back to the 4 reasons we exist. And there's thought behind every component of that. And for a long time, we've used our badge and our patch. But as the Colonel is very fond of saying, a patch is not a seal. So now we have something that's a little more formal that can be that stamp of approval, right? That goes at the top of the letterhead, that goes, on perhaps your certificate you get when you graduate the academy. So it's just something else for us to have as recognizable as part of our brand. And as part of our partnership with that firm, we're also getting a logo. We are getting some guidelines for colors and fonts and graphic materials, just so, you can look at something and know that it's authentic from us.
Right.
And I think that helps, communicating with our public, because so often now people will come on our social to look for the information from us as opposed to looking for it from the news media. So with these guidelines and with some standardization, obviously not killing, the creativity involved, but we'll have just enough uniformity for people to be able to look and say, I know that's real. I
Right.
know that's CCPD
Right.
because it's got this, this, and this on it.
Good.
Awesome. Yeah. Yeah. And again, we haven't seen the package yet, but I'm looking forward to being the individuals in this area of saying Chesterfield is not Henrico, is not the City of Richmond, is not State Police, not Colonial Heights, it's Chesterfield County. And I
Yeah.
think that new seal will do that.
I think one of the things that I think the public misses sometimes about not just the sworn people, but the professional staff or the community
Yes.
relationships you build to do your job,
Yeah.
especially in media and marketing. Our media, local media, national media, work with your office, I assume, to get information out in a timely manner. We see it, something goes out, we get it internally, and then it'll be right on the 11 o'clock news. Can you talk about your relationships with the media?
Local.
Absolutely. That's one of my favorite parts of my job. And over the time that I've been here, I've built some really solid relationships with members of our local media outlets. And, there's a lot of turnover in this market. It's definitely a stepping stone market for them. But I've gotten to meet a variety of people and build those relationships. And you really are building trust. And we have gotten a reputation for being easy to work with. It is very common for reporters to call and ask for something and say, I came to you first because I know it's going to be easy to get it. Or they'll call, and that translates to not just breaking news stuff, but to trend stories, to crime prevention stories. Some of the stations reach out to us routinely for crime prevention stories because we make it so easy to get that message out. Because even though we've got a robust social media following on a bunch of platforms, one of the TV stations has, I want to say, 360,000 followers. So yes, we've got ours, but I need to lean on them. So we build that trust. Like yesterday, we had a situation. I had an assignment manager reach out to me and say, hey, I see this on the board, on the calls list. Do I need to send somebody? And I was, looked it up and I said, yes, if I were you, I would send somebody. So just those things that we can do, to save each other time and make it work more effectively. Because having come from journalism, I also understand that they're strapped for resources too. We're looking for people who want to go into policing, and that's difficult right now. It's difficult to find people who want to go into journalism because it's not great hours, not great pay, and people don't tend to like you. So one of the things I
Welcome
talk
to our
about,
family.
Right.
exactly. One of the
Welcome
things
to
I
the
talk
club.
to them about routinely is, you guys go through it a lot too. A lot of the same things that we go through, and you got to take time. I'm always encouraging them to take care of themselves because it can be a lot.
That leads
Right.
us into the next question.
Right.
What do you do now for that free time of not working and to keep that mental health? What do you do for that?
Well, I listen to your podcast a lot, so I do.
Thank you.
I do. Like everybody else, I do, I try to exercise regularly. I try to get into my hobbies, reading, writing. I have a lot of different passions. One thing that I really enjoy that kind of gets me out of the whole headspace that I have at work, if that makes sense, is I'm always planning for my next trip. I love traveling. Do you relate?
Me too.
Yes.
Awesome. I'm always looking at the next destination.
Wow.
One thing I really want to do in a couple years is do a trip around the Mediterranean Sea and do the Greek islands and Rome and Italy.
For you.
I'm super passionate about that culture and the history, and I could talk about it forever.
Wow.
But I'm always looking at the next trip, the next opportunity, and within the U.S. too. I
Sure.
love just hiking and going to the beach, and it's my favorite thing.
Good for you. Good for you. Elliott.
Liz?
I really enjoy making things, and lately that has taken the form of cooking for the most part. But I love making things, and I love to read, and I love to dig into, a series or a train of thought and really get in and dive in. The last year and a half or so, I've been really into the Stoic philosophy and Stoicism. So I've been reading a ton of books about that. But just finding ways to disconnect from some of the stressors and maintain that perspective is really critical. So along with making things, I love to walk and just go out and wander around. Yeah, but I also have 2 small kids, so that keeps me busy in and of itself, so it's very hard to dwell on things when,
Right, exactly.
They're being stuntmen.
when
Yeah.
they're being stuntmen or they walk up, how does time work, Mommy? I have no idea. Let's Google it.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, a partner, that's what we need. We need to have that partnership with our civilians on the police department, and the media part, of course, is vital to us
Right.
to getting our message out to the community. So I thank you all. I really do, and I appreciate some of the things that you all are doing, a lot of the things that you are doing. I don't get to see it all, but I do see Liz walking through. I go back to that, and I'm like, do I get out of her way? Do I speak? What's going on? Because she's always moving at a pace that
Just
I'm
get
like,
out of her way.
Yeah, just get out
That's
of
the
her way.
best option.
That's the best option that I have.
My legs are really short, so I have to move twice as fast to keep up with that. But I've also found that the joke that I always go back to is if you walk quickly carrying a notepad and
yes.
sigh every time you pass an open door, people will just assume you're busy.
Yes.
Right.
And it works. It works.
Well,
Pro tip.
we'd like to thank our listeners for listening in today.
Yes, always.
Thank Liz, thank Katie for being here. You got a job that I can't do and wouldn't do.
But we're doing some good stuff, though.
We're doing some good
This
stuff.
county is doing
This
some-
aspect of
Yes,
media
yes.
messaging, but I couldn't write press releases and
no.
be on the phone all day, or having to read all the graphic reports that you have to read to be able to put out the proper press release.
Right.
So we value what you do, and as well as the rest of our professional staff here at the Chesterfield Police Department. I'd like to remind our listeners you can go to joinccpd.org. That's joinccpd.org to apply to be a police officer or a police service aide, or find out what other professional staff jobs we have coming up. And we look forward to you listening to us again.
Another great episode.
Yes, sir.
Great
Thank you,
job.
sir.
Great job.
And thank Chris and Shaduli for all they do as well.
Always.